5 days out of 30. I mean, you know, the thing is, even though his father wanted me to stay, I did have to quit finally. I mean, because like the only reason I stayed in the first place was because his father kept asking me to, and I respect his dad a lot and so forth. But then I can't be his trainer anymore. I mean, he was great for the first 4 fights together, but then I'm not sure what happened in that last fight. He just he felt like he put any Cheerios in his underwear at home.
Fred, how much do you think Miguel's experience is going to play?
What did you think of the way Canelo fought?
Yeah, that was pretty. He fought a good fight. I mean, he's clever. I mean, he can box at different times, and sometimes he gets a little anxious and wants to go for the knockout. And like a lot of people ask me, like, you know, because this rivalry between Puerto Rico and Mexico, like the crowd could get under anyone's skin there, and kind of make it maybe into a brawl because of the competition, you know. So, and I'm ready for that, though. I kind of hope that happens a little bit. I mean, because I do believe that this is going to be the best fight of the year. I think it's a great matchup, and I think it's young versus old, and I just don't think we're that old.
Freddie, how much do you think Miguel's experience versus Canelo's inexperience is going to come into this?
Well, that's what we're working on, and that's what we're going to do. But the thing is, I mean, how much is his youth going to take a toll on that? You know, I mean, his youth is very good also. So you've got a little bit of both. You got Puerto Rico, you got Mexico, you got young, you got old. This fight brings a lot to the table. It's a very exciting fight, I think.
Freddie, are you recommending Manny to fight next, Conor Crawford?
I like Crawford, but you know, that's just my opinion. Though I don't really pick the opponents for Manny. You have to talk to him himself.
Freddie, what did you think of Crawford's performance? A lot of people called it an audition for Manny. What were your thoughts on his performance on last Saturday?
That young man that he fought was one of Manny's sparring partners when we were getting ready for Mayweather, and I don't know if he ever made it past 2 rounds with Manny. So I'm leaning towards Crawford a little bit. I kind of like that fight a little bit for Manny, but you know, again, Aram and Manny will work that out. I'm not. I mean, Aram will call me and ask me who's my #1 choice is.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always mean anything. You know?
Are you relieved that if it is Manny's last fight, that is the last fight? Are you relieved?
I don't think it's his last fight.
Why is that?
I think if Manny fights a good fighter like that and looks really good, has no shoulder injury, and it shows like everything's healthy and so forth, I think Mayweather and him will go one more time. There's too much money on the table. They're not going to let that go, I feel. I mean, but that's just like outside the box. That's how I think.
Because Manny has gone, you know, back that he was going to run for this and run for that. I mean, we've talked to you about whether it's going to be his last fight for a long time. Right?
Yeah, because I mean, he's running for senator first, and then if he wins the Senate, he might become president. But he still needs to. I think he's still 2 years of age. I think there's 2 years out there still because you have to be old. He's not old enough to run for president yet. So, but if he does win Senate, I think he will become president. But I would like to see that. But I can see Manny Pacquiao want to be president and win the world title at the same time.
Yeah, but Manny's not told you.
He's like that though.
He has not told you that this is his last fight, right? No. And Bob, that was something that just came out when.
I don't know where that came from, but Manny, no. I spoke to him when he was in New York last week, and that never came up.
Who's got a question about Miguel in this fight?
The 10 years difference in this fight. Okay, I mean, how does that? What will we see in the ring that's going to show that 10 years difference?
You know, you're going to see a young, explosive guy against a smart boxer. I think tactically it looks great. I mean, on paper it's like the perfect match. You know, the boxer versus the slugger and so forth. But who's in a box and who's in a slug right now? We haven't determined that yet because I mean, again, like we talked about, the crowd's getting behind these guys, and you know he has a big Mexican following, of course, and he draws a lot of people. And then we have a big Puerto Rican, and they're both very proud of their countries and so forth. So it could turn out into both guys being very offensive and going at it. And if that happens, I think I like that. Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah.
Freddie, wait, 1 second. Right here or there? Here or there? This one?
I don't care. What do you want?
Wherever. Where? Ready?
I'm right there. No.
No, This one right here in the middle?
No,
Or this
that's too
middle
big.
one?
Right here, this one, right
That
there.
one?
Yep.
Freddie, Canelo moves around a lot. He's got lateral movement. How do you plan to attack that type of style of fighting? Quick with his hands, too.
Well, we have a lateral movement also now, and we're pretty quick with our hands. I'm not really worried about that so much. The biggest issue for me is that you can't go to the ropes with him, because if he gets you on the ropes, he's very dangerous, and he has a great 1-2, and he's very long with it. He's just a little bit taller, but I think he has a little bit more of a reach advantage. And the thing is, if he does, when he throws that long jab, that long right hand's going to come behind it, and if he get caught in the ropes with that, it's not a good place to be. So we've worked on boxing, being smart, staying off the ropes, and it's our game plan's coming through pretty good.
Do you feel confident in the matchup of trainers, you versus those guys?
I don't really think of it that way. Of course, the trainers.
What do you think of those guys?
They're nice guys. I mean,
Do you think that they have what it takes to get him where he needs to be?
Well, they come to a world championship, so I mean, I can't say no. I mean, they've been known for having a lot of fighters in the years and so forth, and then now they finally get a guy who made it, and it took a long time coming. But the thing is, I mean, obviously they're doing a good job with them. So I mean, I don't, the one thing about the trainers is we sit down during the fight and we don't fucking fight. So it's up to the fighter. It's who absorbs from the trainers, who takes it in the best, and who's going to come up with the best game plan, me or them. I mean, so that's probably more of it. But the thing is that I think I have a good game plan, and but I just don't. I don't have just one though. Of course, I mean, that's why we brought in big punchers for sparring partners, and we brought in good boxers also, just in case he does this or that. We're ready for whatever he brings.
Freddie, a lot of people have been talking about the marks Miguel has had from heavy sparring. I talked to Robert Garcia. He thinks it's the opposite. He thinks he's getting good work. How do you respond to people who think that things aren't going great just because Miguel has a black eye or is marked up?
Well, black guys have them all the time. But I mean, Glenn Tapia, he's a good puncher. I mean, he's a durable guy. He comes. I mean, he's my strong guy in case that happens. And I mean, he comes at you full force, and and then the last 2 days they sparred, Miguel got the best of him, because now he's starting to deal with that style a little bit better, and he was having trouble with a couple of the boxes earlier, and so then once he started mastering those guys and pushing those guys around, so everything's really falling into place. And again, we're down to 2 days of sparring now. We had 6 rounds tomorrow and 4 rounds on Saturday, and we're done.
Do you remember Miguel as the up-and-coming prospect and what you thought of him then? And a lot of people thought he was going to be, best fighter around. And what do you remember about those days?
I remember his footwork, side angles, side movement, just a more complete fighter. And that's what I want him to be when we got together. I want him to be a more complete fighter than just a puncher, because just trying to land that one punch all night long is just, sometimes it never happens, So, and then you end up losing the decision on points because you let the other guy outpoint you as you're trying to knock him out. And when you're looking for a knockout, it's like the worst thing in the world. It never happens.
Both these guys have power in punching. I think this could possibly turn out to be a real slugfest, toe-to-toe type of situation.
Yeah, I've already said that, and I hope that I've prepared for that. And I think that will happen somewhere in the fight, yes. And I think, especially with the crowds getting behind both fighters, I mean, the venue's going to be it's going to be crazy with the Puerto Ricans and the Mexicans, and you know what? There's going to be more than one fight in the crowd, I believe me. I've seen this before. I mean,
that from a personal level, it's been a really topsy-turvy year for you. Fight in May, but then since then, you've kind of resurrected Cotto. The Postol fight meant a lot. I mean, what's this kind of post-Manny career that you're moving into? How rewarding has that been for you?
Well, the thing is, Manny's always, he's always the main guy and stuff like that because he's there. But the thing is, that, he had an injury and he's out for a little while. But I do believe he'll be back. And I talked to him the other day about who he wanted to fight next and so forth. And he said, "Why don't we make that decision when we start training and see how I feel in training, and we'll go from there." And so I thought that was a great answer. So that was, so he didn't want to jump the gun and just pick an opponent out that we want to fight. So the thing is, he wants to get in the gym first and see how everything goes. Make sure that arm's 100%. And once we get that green light, then he will fight anybody out there.
Well, what is Miguel meant to you just from a personal level, seeing him turn around, and also, Postal and what he did the other day?
Postal, he's like 10-1 underdog and so forth. So that was a great win. And then Miguel, I think, his last 3 fights, have been really, really great. We've worked well together. The game plans have worked out very well. We obviously work very well together, and so that's been a great part of it. And like I said, I'd like to win Tournament of the Year one more time because if he wins, I feel that I'll win that because I think this is the biggest fight of the year. And with Postal on top of that, we had a real good year, and this is can be the defining fight.
Freddie, what was the one thing you had to change when you started training Miguel?
The biggest thing was him not being flat-footed anymore, looking for the knockout, the one-punch knockout. Okay, the biggest thing was getting him on his toes, boxing, lateral movement, angles, and just becoming more of what he used to do when he was younger.
Why do you think there's this big rivalry between Puerto Rico and Mexico in the boxing world? Where was that born from?
That's really before my time a little bit. My father used to tell me about it and so forth, and then I got to see it as a young fighter coming up with Freddie Gomez and those guys. They've always had great rivalries there in the same weight division. So it's been part of history for a long time. I think there's like 60-something fights between Mexicans and Puerto Ricans. And I think the Puerto Ricans have more wins right now. If I remember, is that true?
It's true.
It's true. But they're the smaller country, and I was kind of. I thought that Mexicans had to jump on that, but the thing is that I know they don't because I've heard that stat before. So it's just a great rivalry. It's just like when last show I was at in Vegas, and the Mexican the Puerto Rican kids and the bands played against each other first, in the ring and so forth. It was just a great. It was electric. It was just a great night.
Would you categorize that mostly as boxers against sluggers for the most part, or is there acceptance to that?
I think that you had both going along the way. Some were boxers, some were sluggers, and then we've had we've had great champions from Puerto Rico and Mexico both. So they might be considered the best fighters out there. In the history of boxing and so forth. But there's good in every. There's always that exception. Again, once in a while you get a white guy that can fight too.
Do you believe Mayweather's really retired?
There's too much money on the table. He can't leave that alone.
So will it happen in 2016 then, Mayweather versus Pacquiao?
Yeah, but you know what? If I told Miguel if he knocks this guy out and Mayweather couldn't, maybe we'll get him first. I'm not sure. It could be Cotto.
Do you think Cotto could knock out Mayweather?
Well, Miguel told me, he said, if you were in my corner for that fight, I would have knocked him out, and I sure as hell would like to try. Yeah.
What do you remember about that fight?
I think that there's some things he could have done to help him in that fight, and some of the things I asked Manny to do, Manny can't do because maybe he's a little bit too small, but Miguel's a lot bigger and stronger than Manny at this point. At 160, I think Miguel might be able to do those things that I asked Manny to do. But again, that's hearsay right now. We don't know. We don't know until it happens.
Manny seems like a really nice guy. He seems more like he's got a mean streak to him. Does that help with fighters if you're an angry fighter? Does that
I don't think angry fighters really help because you really get outside the game plan and so forth when you're angry, and the smarter fighter will win. But I think the best fighters, the smartest fighters always win. I don't think being mad at the other guy is going to help you at all.
So it's better to be relaxed.
Yeah, it's better to be relaxed. But I did have one champion when he didn't like another fighter, and he'd like the guy talk bad about him and so forth. Virgil Hill, he'd go out there and kill him. I mean, but then if the guy was a nice guy, go out there and touch gloves with him, and I'd say, "What the fuck you doing?" I said, "Hey, your friend out there?" I used to get so mad at Virgil, but then I learned that I used to say, "Do you hear what he said on the press?" I used to lie to him and tell him the guy was talk bad about him. So I would get him mad at him because that's what worked for Virgil Hill. Virgil was one of those guys that he fought better when he disliked his opponents.
If Cotto wins, will you fight Golovkin?
20 down.
Possibly. I mean, that's a big fight out there, of course, and the thing is that we just don't know if Golovkin can draw paper to do that well yet. I mean, I think his last fight didn't do that well, but hopefully with that matchup they would do well. Because I mean, it's tough to fight Golovkin for free. I mean, it's a tough fight. I mean, I know he's a good fighter and so forth, but I mean, if you fight a guy like that, you want to get paid for a fight like that. But it could happen for sure.
Does he have the tools, Freddie Triple G, to be a pay-per-view star? Because we saw he got 150,000. We saw Manny and Floyd made it look almost easy. Does he have the tools to get there?
Well, he's learned English pretty well. He's doing everything he can to promote himself. When he said he carried that one fighter, I don't think that helped him because people don't like that. Why would you carry a fighter? I mean, carry a fighter is almost like, to me, it's almost like a fix. It's like, if the guy's that bad, do you really need to put them in there if you have to carry somebody? So I think that wasn't the smartest move they made. But he is a good fighter, and he's a real nice kid. He's a gentleman. He's a nice guy. But I will say this: how well known is he? I said when Manny came out of the locker room during the last fight, and they asked to take a picture of each other, and they did. And then when we got in the ring, Manny said, "Freddie, who is that guy?" So I said, "You don't know who Triple G is?" So I just said, "Fuck it." I didn't even tell him.
3 more questions, guys.
Freddie, what did you think about Mayweather versus Roberto?
Come on, it's just like they got to come up with better opponents than that. I mean, but Mayweather again, he can make anyone look bad. And the thing is, I think you have to fight a really aggressive, hard style to even maybe get close to him. He's a good boxer. I mean, I got to give him credit. I mean, he's a very good boxer. He's a little bit boring. I think him and Andre Ward would be a great fight. Two of the best boxers out there, but I mean, pure boxers would like that fight, but nobody else. I mean, because I might fall asleep during the fight, because I've fallen asleep more than one of his fights. So.
Freddie, I want to congratulate you on the new position, Adrian Bronner. I saw him; he was in the Wild Card gym. How's the training going?
Yeah, going great. Adrian and his trainer were very good friends, and Adrian was just telling a joke. Adrian's trainer and we go back a long way, so I'm not gonna train Adrian Bronner. No.
Last question,
Freddie, Manny said that he was already in talks with Floyd for a rematch. You said, obviously they're gonna come to you and say, Freddie, what do you think of this fight? If the Mayweather fight is on the table, is that a no-brainer, Freddie? You're going with that fight no matter what, or will you still consider other options for him at this point?
No, that if they offer us that fight, I want to see Manny fight him healthy, because I was one of the few that didn't want that fight to happen when the shoulder injury, and but the thing is, I got outvoted. The thing is, it was a big fight. They said if you don't let this fight happen now, it'll never happen again. And then everyone said, well, it's big money and so forth. And I don't really care about the big money, but the thing is, I actually care about the fighter. So I hope that injury healed up well. I think Manny can do much better against him. Manny watched the fight with Bob Arum, and they both come to the conclusion that they won the fight. A lot of fans came up to me at the airport the next day and told me we got robbed. I didn't really think so myself, but a lot of people saw that fight differently than I did. But I don't know. Do you think he won the fight?
I don't know. I don't think so.
But dude, I mean, a ton of people came up to me and they told me that that we got robbed, but I didn't think so. But that's how it goes, though.
Freddie, you know, he talks about retirement, but have you thought about retirement yet, Freddie? How long is your career left? Because it's different for trainers. It's cerebral. It's not physical. So
I got a bad back right now, I know, and they give me a lot of problems, but I'm not going anywhere yet.